观众朋友都讲过，只要继续收听聚焦国际，你就礼拜新闻幕後，你就參到這個非常特別嘅類別。你講1928年對歷史上係當重要嘅一年，第一擺世界大戰對今年結束，就當到國家就對今年產生。對11月18日了，是波蘭嘅重新建國嘅100周年，所以根本都聚焦國際現場邀請到波蘭嘅駐台代表呢段節目現場，讓大家分享兩場歷史，你非常嘅歡迎，來自波蘭嘅 Maciej Gaca。
大家好。
今日去年用客家話用大家來問候，你稍後咧兩段訪問為大部分用英文嚟進行。It's our biggest, pleasure and honor to have you here to let us know the history about the re-independence of your country. First of all, before we start the history, I would like to know some basic information about your country. We know that the distance between Taipei and Warsaw is more than 11,000 kilometers. And before this conversation, I tried to ask my colleagues. Some of them been to Europe. Mm-hmm. And I say, have you been to Poland? Most people answer me, not those Eastern Europe countries yet. Mm-hmm. And they might think Poland is a small country, but actually we know they are all wrong. Because first of all, will you say Poland is an Eastern country? And how big is Poland compared to Taiwan? Could you give us more information about Poland?
Sure, with pleasure. Thank you once again for inviting me here. Definitely, we will never describe Poland as an Eastern European country because we are poorly geographically in the middle of Europe.
Yes.
So even for countries neighboring us, we use the term like Central European countries. And sometimes for a wider perspective, geographical, economical, we use the CC like Central Eastern European countries. So Poland is in the center of Europe and is the 6th biggest country in EU.
Yes.
In terms of population and in terms of the area. It's over 312,000 square kilometers with almost 40 million people living there.
Wow.
So it's a huge country with a huge economy.
Maybe 9 times bigger than Taiwan.
Indeed. But of course, we are, as I said, in the middle of Europe.
Yes.
And Poland has natural borders. In north, it's the Baltic Sea, and in the south, there are mountain ranges of Sudet and Carpathian mountain ranges.
Yes.
While on the most of the territory is a European plain, so we have like a kind of a plain border with Germany on our west side, as well as with Ukraine and Belarusia on the east side.
Yes.
So except these 3 countries, our boundaries are with the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Lithuania, and partly with Russia.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for letting us know those basic information about Poland. And before we start, I also want to know what's your impression toward Taiwan?
Well, I'm very much impressed because, simply speaking, the hospitality, amazing food.
Is it?
Yes.
Could you name one of them that's your favorite?
I start with the sweet things.
Sweet ones.
Yeah.
Desserts.
So pineapple cakes.
Pineapple cake.
Yes,
okay, my favorite too.
Yeah. Then, of course, bubble tea with all sorts of bubble tea.
Wow.
Like a daily routine. Genzu Nights, it's like daily routine for me and my family here. But of course, I like all the little snacks that you can get in the evenings and sometimes in the mornings. This is a very unique thing for us, for Europeans, that so many people dine outside, starting from the breakfast, which is always a must for us to eat at home before we leave. So this is something different. Of course, I'm amazed with the natural landscape of Taiwan. So
even this is a tiny island?
I will never call it a tiny island.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Still, I mean, with the natural landscape, with the mountainary area, with the forest, with the beautiful and so different seashore. I mean, you can experience a lot of very different things, and what I do on weekends, always with my family, we are just going out and try to go into some trails on the beaches, just be active, because the natural landscape is so amazing. Though Poland has
Much
a lot
bigger.
of offer, it's bigger, but has a lot of offer in terms of the natural beauty.
Yes, you know, I could tell that you do enjoy your stay here in Taiwan. You know, after the geographic information, I would like to focus on history. You know, the reason here, one of the reasons, of course, here today is to share the pride and the honor of the re-independence of your country for 100 years in 1998. You know, I guess most people, including me, we don't really know the history and we don't really know what had happened. You know, I tried to check some information before this interview.
Right.
I have learned that Poland is a country with more than 10,000 years already. Starts from the century 10, more or less.
Yes.
But for somehow the country disappeared in 1795. So what happened then, and how you could re-independent again? What efforts you have made?
Well, indeed, our history is over 1,050 years old. It all started, I mean, symbolically in the year 966 with the first ruler called Mieszko. But then his son, Bolesław the Brave, was the first king of Poland. And so Poland, under the Piast family, flourished for many centuries. But not to talk about the whole history of Poland.
Yeah, of course not.
What happened? Once we've been in the 16th century, the biggest country and the biggest state in Europe,
Wow.
with the borders from the Baltic Sea on the north up to the Black Sea on the south. Though what happened in 18th century,
Yes.
is that, simply speaking, because of Poland's, we call it a noble democracy and free election of Polish kings, there were the major reasons for weakening the rule of kings, because once they start to be elected, then with the big number, 8 to 10% of Polish population are noble people. So they start to build a sort of a society that you can call today like oligarchs, or that were ruling the country. So they were not very much interested in supporting the rule of a king.
Yes.
So if you add to this fact that there was privilege of every nobleman who was a member of the let's say, early stage parliament,
Yes.
to use the liberum veto principle, which means that he can stop any legislative process of any law.
Wow.
Just saying liberum veto or saying
Yes.
veto, it all, these all factors helped to weaken the ruling and weaken the country. So then some of the oligarchs, some of the magnate families start to have their own businesses with the neighboring empires. And it led to the three partitions. The very first one in 1772,
Yes.
the second one in 1792, and the third one when Poland disappeared from the map of Europe
Yes.
in 1795.
Yes.
But in between, what happened is very important.
Yes.
Because Poland in 70s of 18th century, we managed to establish a national education commission. So we created a sort of Ministry of Education with the nowadays language.
Pioneering Europe.
Yes, probably was the very first Europe, because we want to give the access to all common people for the education. It was a great achievement of that time.
Wow.
Though it was followed with another one achievement, which is adopting the very first in Europe Constitution.
Very first one.
Yes, which is the second in the world, right after the American Constitution.
Wow.
So till now, still our national holiday is related to the May the 3rd Constitution Day, and that's what we very often celebrate. Also here in Taiwan.
Know more about the disappearing 123 years in particular, because how has that period reshaped your country? As you just mentioned, you have two very important achievements. Other than that, what are the specific movements before you re-independent again in 1998?
Well, as it was said, with the partition, the last partition, Poland disappeared. It was parted by three powers.
Yeah, it's
the
quite
Empire
a long
of
time.
Russia, yes, Empire of Austria, and Empire of Prussia, later called Germany. And within this period of time, we've been, as I said, parted. And in 1918,
yes,
when we regained our independence, simply speaking, Polish territory was the remnant of the three different empires with 5 different currencies, 3 different economy systems,
wow,
with the hyperinflation, and with the borders that were not the same as before the partition. So the challenge was unbelievable.
It's pretty complicated.
It's a pretty complicated, but what happened is, first of all, we in the history, we always looked for the independence, and we looked upon to find any chance for regaining independence early. So there were a lot of uprisals within the 19th century. There was a lot of hope with our alliance with Napoleon Bonaparte, with the alliance with France, just heading against Russia, and many, many other movements. But then in the 70s of 19th century, we started positivism. It's a sort of movement that was related to focusing on the very organic work from the very basis, to work hard on developing education in Polish language, to be educated in terms of jobs to be obtained, doesn't matter under which of the partition and which of the empire is ruling. So there was a very solid sense of understanding of our roots. So, as you know, as
yes,
Hakka people,
yes,
that keeping up your own language under hostile circumstances,
yes,
especially in the history of Hakka people, you can find out that we have so much in common, right? So what happened under Song dynasty and later on in the Ming dynasty could be somehow relevant, or you can see how important it was to keep with every family the tradition, the roots, the language, the holidays, the cuisine. So it all survived for such a long period of time of 123 years.
No. Allow me to let the audience know the reason that Mr. Gaca knows so much about the Chinese history is he got a degree in sinology of master. So after the first part of the talking, we take a short break. Then we will focus on something easier, and maybe for you it will be very important and useful information. Just take a break and see you later. 各位觀眾朋友都講過之後，繼續收聽遲早國際係講嘅李夏人加入呢個節目，各位大家紹介。今日嚟到遲早國際節目現場嘅係波蘭嘅駐台代表梅西亞，為老人哋分享波蘭重新建國嘅100週年，時間係11月18。Thank you for the very detailed information about the history and the geography. Before we go to the next part, the easier part maybe, but I have learned that in the process of gaining or regaining the political rights, women has played a very important role. Could you tell me more about that?
Thank you, and thank you for this question. Indeed, women played a very important role in regaining independence, but also in strengthening their position to gain the equal citizenship position from the very beginning of Republic of Poland after 1918. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, many people are aware of some suffrage movements in Europe in the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, but the situation with women in Poland was a bit different, if not much different. Because, first of all, many of the men under the rule of foreign countries, when Poland was departed, were put into the prison or went on the exile. So naturally, women had to take the leading role in many fields of the daily routine activities. Mm-hmm. It included education as well, education of kids, but education of themselves.
Yes.
So there was a demand, and there was a huge number, a big number of women who were quite well educated and who took upon the major role of building up the self-identity mm-hmm. or national identity. But the self-identity meant also the self-identity of women or women in power. So therefore, Polish suffragists were at the same time involved in the fight of for Polish independence. And growing up in the difficult condition, like a difficult historical and social condition, they finally put themselves among all other Poles as a very strong part of the whole society. Mm-hmm. So therefore they were granted the full right of voting when the first free election took place right after 1918.
Yes, I guess that's one of the reasons that make Poland different from the other European countries. You know, since 1918, you were re-independent. It has been many significant historical events. For example, World War II mm-hmm. and the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and also Poland being a member of the European Union.
Right.
How has this this important event changed your country? What are the importance of these historical events to your country, of course?
Well, with the span of 100 years, there were many important events.
Yeah, more than what I just mentioned, of course.
Yeah. I mean, if maybe I can start with the first very important was the 1920. So actually, yes. It was the war against the Bolshevik Russia, which is still recognized as one of the 15th major battles in the 20th century, because miraculously we won the war on the banks of the Vistula River next to Warsaw, our capital, in 1920, and we stopped the Bolshevik communism move forward into the west of Europe. So it was a very important date. Afterward, of course, we have this period of time between the two wars, mm-hmm. which is called interbellum period. For Poland, very important. Politically, very dramatic, with many changes. Of course, with a significant role of the Marshal Józef Piłsudski,
yes.
who took control of Poland in 1918, and then once again regained his control. But I don't want to go into much of the details.
Yeah, that's okay.
But what I mentioned before, economic situation was so difficult and so challenging. Then the lack of the industry. So we had like 20 years of period of time of building up a sustainable economy, mm-hmm. which finally, first fruits of this very hard work mm-hmm. of the whole nation were obvious in the early 30s with a lot of infrastructure investment. We built up a completely new port, a new city, Gdynia.
Yes.
Which by 1935, 80% of our export and 60% of our import went through this port, which is now flourishing, actually.
Yes.
As well, right? Okay. But the Second World War was the worst of the all experience for Poland, definitely. And it has reshaped our mentality once again. after the Second World War, because of the treaty between Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin, we've been betrayed.
Yes.
And put into the sphere of influence of Soviet Union. So for many people, this period of time from 1945 up to 1989
yes.
is still perceived as a time of occupation, while for the others it was a free Poland, although under the rule of unwanted socialist government. Finally, in 1989, we managed, our nation, to change the system, and we became the open democracy, open economy. But then was another challenge with rebuilding our economy and rebuilding our society.
Yeah.
I hope we did it.
Yes.
Some significant factors is the hyperinflation was stopped by 1992.
Yeah, I learned that.
Then the withdrawal of Russian troops that still were stationed in Poland happened also by 1992.
Yes.
And then since 1992 we have an ongoing process of a growing economy. So even the crisis, the world crisis in 2008 did not stop the consequence of the growing economy. So we are now, even 1 month ago, by Fitch and Poor, we've been announced as the developed economy, which means this is the very first country from the former Eastern Bloc to be announced a developed economy. So I'm more than glad and proud to represent my country here.
Great. And looking forward to the future, what would you suggest if there's a Taiwanese, before this, I know there are many Taiwanese students doing medical degrees in your country.
Right.
What are the other subjects or area they could pursue in Poland? And also, what would you suggest our audience do if they go to Poland? Where would you suggest them, including me, to go?
Right question and right time. With the students, indeed, we have almost 900 Taiwanese students currently studying in Poland.
More than I expect.
Yeah, and we hope that we very soon we will go over this psychological barrier of more than 1,000 students from Taiwan.
Go to Poland! From now, go to Poland!
Right. Of course, a major of the students are studying medicine, but we are really good in, as well as Taiwan, in ICT, IT studies.
Wow.
Especially with programmers and developers. I mean, some of the Polish developers, developing companies are worldwide known, especially as Taiwan young people are so fond of gaming. And The Witcher, for example, The War of Mine, and many other titles, all of them were developed in Poland. So this is our trademark. Definitely with biotechnology or medical-related studies, it's the right country to go to study basically for 3 reasons. First of all, comparatively low cost of studying, definitely the safety.
Yes.
And third, very good, friendly environment in terms of people, in terms of great food, and
that's the
hospitality.
Center of Europe, don't forget it.
Right. But if you don't necessarily want to go to study, or you study hard, but still on the vacation you want to go and visit.
We play hard as well.
I know very well. Couple of cities, couple of places to be visited. Because if you are fascinated by the nature,
yes,
you have tens, if not hundreds of kilometers of the white beaches along the shore of the Baltic Sea.
Yeah, the northern part of the country.
Yes, with the golden sand, and you can make like days and days of walks, and you can enjoy this beautiful landscape, not only during the summertime, but any season. Then, if you want to celebrate in a very special way our Double 11 holidays, which is the date of our Independence Day, I will encourage you to go to Poznań, my home city, because first of all there is a special celebration which is recalling the Polish politician, diplomat, and pianist Ignacy Paderewski, coming to Poznań to the train station, which was a very symbolic thing, and its reconstruction, historical reconstructions, every year is taking place. And you can follow with the St. Martin Fair and St. Martin Parade with great sweets that you can eat during that time.
Okay, thank you so much. I regret to give you only half an hour for the interview. If we still have another chance, I wish you could show us more and tell us more about Poland. Thank you so much, Mr. Gaca.
It was my pleasure to be here with you.
Okay, thank you. And happy birthday to the 100 years of independence to your country. Thank you. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.